My dear seniors, here in the Dome in Denver, Colorado, I am here to be clear with you about some things in life. There are things in life that you should never sacrifice for anyone, not for friendship, love, approval, or even convenience. These things define who you are, and losing them would cause you to lose yourself. Let's talk about them. The most crucial aspect of your identity is your self-respect. It serves as the cornerstone for everything else in your life, including your confidence, values, decisions, and even how you allow others to treat you. Without self-respect, you expose yourself to manipulation, mistreatment, and undervaluation, and that is not a worthwhile life. The reason self-respect is so important is that it establishes the parameters for how you interact with the outside world, establishes the norm for how others should treat you, and, above all, it affects how you treat yourself. When you respect yourself, you make choices that uphold your dignity and value. Because you know your worth and don't accept anything less than what you deserve, you don't let people treat you disrespectfully. Prospectively consider it. Self-respect is non-negotiable, because when someone treats you disrespectfully, whether in a friendship, relationship, or even at work, it leaves a lasting impression. You feel small and diminished, as if your value isn't important, and when you accept that treatment even once, you're telling yourself and them that you're okay with being treated that way. Over time, this erodes your confidence and makes you believe that you don't deserve better. When you respect yourself, you stand up for your worth in every area of your life by saying, "This is who I am, and I deserve to be treated with dignity." This doesn't imply being conceited or self-centered. Rather, it's about realizing your inherent value as a human being and knowing that you are enough just the way you are, without needing validation or approval from others. Setting limits is another aspect of respecting oneself. Implies understanding when to say no, even if it's challenging. Too frequently, people compromise their dignity in order to feel loved or accepted. They allow others to manipulate them, take advantage of them, or make decisions for them. However, establishing boundaries is a self-care practice that involves realizing that you have the right to have your own needs met as well as anyone else's, and that your voice matters just as much. When you set boundaries, some people may push back, accusing you of being cruel or selfish. However, those who genuinely respect you will also respect your boundaries, because they will realize that your self-respect is not an attack on them, but rather an essential component of any healthy relationship. Those who don't respect your boundaries were never intended to be in your life in the first place. They were only there to exploit your lack of self-respect. Respecting oneself entails making choices that are consistent with your ideals and honoring your identity, even if those decisions are challenging, or you risk staying in a toxic relationship because you fear being alone, or you might accept a job you despise because it pays the bills, even though it drains your spirit. However, when you respect yourself, you make decisions that nourish your soul and choose the things that make you feel alive, even if they involve risk or sacrifice. When you lose your self-respect, you're more likely to make decisions that are based on what other people expect of you rather than what you truly want for yourself. When you respect yourself, you don't let your inner critic take over and convince you that you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. Instead, you practice self-compassion, forgive yourself for your mistakes, and encourage yourself to keep going even when things get tough. Self-respect also manifests in the way you speak to yourself. We all have an inner voice that criticizes, doubts, and occasionally brings us down, but self-respect means quieting that voice and replacing it with one that is kind, supportive, and understanding. You must practice being yourself every day, since you will always encounter individuals and circumstances that push your limits. There will be times when it would be simpler to give in and allow someone else to determine your value, or to compromise who you are in the name of peace. But each time you choose self-respect, you strengthen your own resilience, confidence, and sense of self-worth, as well as your capacity to live an honest life. When you realize that you are deserving of love, respect, and dignity just for being alive, you will never let anyone make you feel less than who you are. You will stand tall, speak your truth, and navigate life with the assurance of someone who knows their own worth, because that is exactly what you deserve. Self-respect is about honoring who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. Your fundamental values serve as the moral compass that guide your decisions and serve as the guiding principles that define who you are and what you stand for in life. Think that life will test your dedication to these principles, especially in difficult circumstances. Perhaps there are circumstances in which being truthful will lose you a relationship or a job opportunity. Perhaps you'll be in a situation when doing the right thing goes against the grain and it would be easier to keep quiet or follow the herd, but these are the times that define you and test your character. It's not always easy to choose the path of integrity. Sometimes doing the right thing means losing something in the short term, but when you look back, you find that sticking to your values brought you a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace because you knew that you didn't compromise who you are. Think of a time when you had to make a difficult decision that required you to either stick to your values or take the easy way out. Even though it was tempting, the long-term cost is much higher when you compromise your morals for the sake of convenience or to avoid conflict. At the time, it might seem like the right thing to do, and you tell yourself that it won't be a big deal or that it will only happen once. But every time you do something that goes against your beliefs, you lose a little piece of yourself. Standing by your principles is crucial because over time, it can cause feelings of shame, guilt, and regret fades. You start to feel disconnected from yourself and unsure of who you are or what you stand for. Living in accordance with your core values gives you a powerful sense of strength. It gives you direction and a sense of purpose. You know what's important to you, and don't let other people's thoughts or deeds divert you from your course. This doesn't imply that you're rigid or unyielding, but rather that you know what's most important to you and are prepared to make sacrifices, but never at the expense of your morals. Some people might not comprehend or value your dedication to your principles. When you live by your values, you live with integrity. And integrity is something that cannot be purchased or faked. It is earned through consistent action and staying true to yourself even when no one else is around. Living by your values also means being selective about who you allow into your life. The people you surround yourself with should respect and share your values. They may try to convince you that your standards are too high or unrealistic, but that is their perspective, not yours. What matters is that you can look in the mirror and be proud of the person looking back at you. When you compromise your principles to fit in or to avoid conflict, you're not being true to yourself, and the people who truly matter will appreciate you for sticking to your principles. If you find yourself compromising your values to maintain a friendship or relationship on a regular basis, it's time to reevaluate that connection. True relationships are built on mutual respect and shared values. Your values are equally important in the professional world. You may come across circumstances that test your ethics, such as being asked to do something that contradicts your sense of justice or honesty. These instances are defining, even though it may seem simpler to follow the crowd. You will never achieve long-term success by surrendering your morals for temporary gain. People appreciate and trust those that act honorably, stay true to their word, and do the right thing even when it's difficult. When you live by your core principles, this is the cornerstone of true success. Your core values define you and are the essence of who you are. You stop second-guessing yourself because you know what matters most and make decisions that align with your true self, which gives you a deeper sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in. You gain a strong sense of self-awareness and become more confident in your decisions because you know they are based on something meaningful. Time is one of the most valuable resources you have, and unlike money or material possessions, it's something you can never get back once it's spent. Every second, minute, and hour of your life matters, and whether you're using it wisely or letting it slip through your fingers, time is always ticking away. For this reason, it's so important to protect your time and never sacrifice it for anyone or anything that doesn't align with your goals, your well-being, or your personal growth. When you stay true to your values, you create a life of authenticity and integrity, one that reflects your deepest beliefs and desires. When you consider how you spend your time, you should understand that each moment you spend with someone or anything is an investment, and just like any investment, you want to make sure you're putting your time into things that give you a return, whether that's in the form of happiness, personal development, or progress towards your ambitions. But too often people sacrifice their time for things that don't bring them any value. They give away their time to people who drain their energy, to activities that don't serve them, or the situations that lead them nowhere. And the danger in that is that you're wasting a resource you can never replenish. Think about the times you've agreed to do something you didn't want to do just to make someone else happy. Maybe it was a social event you had no interest in, a favor you didn't have the capacity for, or a commitment you felt obligated to take on in the moment. It might have seemed like the easier option, avoiding conflict, pleasing others, or trying to keep the peace. But afterward, you probably felt the weight of time lost, knowing you could have used those hours or minutes doing something that truly mattered to you. This is why it's so... When you let other people control how you spend your time, you're giving up control over one of your most valuable resources. You're allowing them to put their needs ahead of your own, which means you're ignoring your own aspirations, objectives, and well-being. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing they owe their time to others, whether they be friends, family, or coworkers. Protecting your time means realizing that not everything and not everyone deserves a piece of it. Learning to say no, even when it's uncomfortable, and being comfortable putting yourself first. It's common to feel pressure to be there for others or to be present at all times, but the truth is that you own your time and don't owe it to anyone. Prioritizing your own needs and avoiding people or situations that don't advance your development doesn't make you selfish. And the more you value your own time, the more others will respect it as well. We all have goals, dreams, and passions, but reaching them takes time to work, learn, and grow. If you're constantly wasting your time on things that don't get you closer to your goals, you'll find yourself stuck and feeling like you're spinning your wheels without making any real progress. Success doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistent effort over time. And if you're not using your time wisely, you're delaying your own progress. Being intentional with your time also means knowing when you're wasting it on things that don't align with your purpose. Time is crucial in your relationships as well. The people you spend time with have a significant impact on your life. If you surround yourself with positive people who push you to be better and support your goals, you're making a smart investment. However, if you're spending time with people who drain your energy, bring negativity into your life, or don't respect your boundaries, you're wasting a valuable resource you're spending your time with. And make sure that those relationships are advancing your development and well-being rather than impeding it. This is another area where people frequently sacrifice their time trying to live up to the expectations of others. This can be in your personal life, where you're constantly doing things to win others' approval, or in your career, where you feel pressure to put in extra hours to impress your boss. The problem is that chasing after someone else's approval or validation is a never-ending race, and no matter how much time you devote, it will never be enough if you're not doing it for yourself. Being aware of distractions is another aspect of time management. There are several opportunities for distraction in our world. You can be drawn away from what truly matters by social media, entertainment, and other people's drama. It's simple to fall into the trap or waste time on things that don't enrich your life, and before you know it, hours have gone by and you're no closer to your objectives. For this reason, it's critical to maintain concentration on your priorities and to avoid time-wasting distractions. It's crucial to be deliberate about how you spend your time, because it's the one thing you can't get back after it's gone. Don't give up your time for someone or anything that doesn't fit with your ideals, your objectives or your contentment. When you treat your time as a valuable resource and make good use of it, you'll discover that you're not only more productive, but also more fulfilled, because you're living in accordance with your true priorities. Your mental peace is invaluable and one of the most crucial components of your general well-being. In the rush of everyday life, it's simple to forget, but when your mental health is at risk, safeguarding it should be your top priority. Your relationships suffer because of everything else in your life, your physical work, health, and even your capacity to enjoy life, which is why it's crucial to never compromise your mental tranquility for anyone or anything. In today's fast-paced world, stressors of all kinds, including work deadlines, family responsibilities, social pressures, and financial concerns, are all around us. There are always things that need your attention, but maintaining mental peace is more than just avoiding stress. It's also about managing and navigating through those stresses and establishing an internal environment where you feel composed, in control, and calm no matter what is going on around you. When you compromise your mental peace for the benefit of other people or to satisfy demands from others, you give up that sense of instability. Taking on other people's problems is one of the most common ways people sacrifice their mental health. You want to support the people you care about, whether they are friends, family, or coworkers, but sometimes in your attempts to do so, you end up taking on their stress, anxiety, and emotional burdens. There is a fine line between being supportive and sacrificing your mental peace. You can offer a listening ear, offer advice, or provide assistance without allowing someone else's problems to consume you. Setting boundaries is important not only to protect your time, but also to protect your peace of mind. Helping others is a noble and compassionate act, but when it begins to cost you your peace of mind, it's a sign that you're giving too much. Setting limits enables you to support people without becoming overwhelmed by their problems, which is crucial for preserving your mental health. You risk burnout, emotional tiredness, and a deterioration in your mental health if you don't have boundaries. Allowing toxic relationships to continue to exist in one's life, whether they be with a romantic partner, friend, or even family, is another way that people give up their mental health. These relationships are full of conflict, manipulation, and emotional abuse, turmoil. But a lot of people continue to be in them because they feel compelled to or are scared to leave. However, every second you spend in a toxic relationship is a moment you are giving up your mental calm, and you should be in relationships that make you feel better rather than worse. Remaining in a relationship that consistently takes away your tranquility can eventually have a greater negative impact on your mental health than the difficulty of letting go, even though leaving toxic relationships is difficult, particularly if there is a lengthy history or a strong emotional bond. Peace of mind should never be negotiable. If someone's presence in your life causes you ongoing stress, anxiety, or emotional pain, it's a sign that the relationship isn't working for you. It's better to let go and find inner peace than to hold on to something toxic. Mental peace also necessitates managing the expectations you set for yourself. For example, you set high standards for yourself and work toward achieving your goals and push yourself to succeed. While drive and ambition are important, they can also become sources of stress if you're always chasing perfection. If you don't take time to reflect and rest, the pressure to perform better and meet everyone's expectations can gradually erode your mental peace. Mental peace comes from finding balance, which can be found in knowing when to push forward and when to take a break. You can't be everything to everyone all the time, and trying to do so will only leave you feeling exhausted. Saying no and putting your own needs first is okay. Doing so will allow you to perform at your best and give others your best effort when the time is right. In a world full of numerous viewpoints and social media news cycles, maintaining your mental calm also entails being careful about what you let into your head. The more information you are exposed to, the easier it is to feel overwhelmed by the never-ending flow of negativity. Unplugging, taking a break, and giving yourself some breathing room might sometimes be the best thing you can do for your mental health, regardless of whether it's from gossip, toxic social media connections, or the news. You can develop inner peace by engaging in mindfulness practices like meditation, journaling, or just taking quiet moments throughout the day. These practices enable you to connect with yourself, listen to your thoughts, and process your emotions in a healthy way. By taking the time to quiet your mind and tune into your inner world, you strengthen your ability to maintain mental peace even when life gets chaotic. Mental peace isn't something you can achieve once and then have forever. It requires daily attention and care. You must be mindful of the decisions you make, the people you let into your life, and the environments you put yourself in. If something or someone constantly disturbs your peace, you need to reevaluate its place in your life. It is your duty to maintain mental tranquility. No one else can protect it for you. You must set boundaries, make difficult choices, and put your own well-being first. When you value your mental health, you not only improve your own life, but also become better able to handle life's challenges and be there for others in a healthy, balanced way. Your self-respect is the cornerstone of how you see yourself and ultimately how you allow others to treat you. It's the inner voice that tells you what you deserve, the boundaries you set, and the way you conduct yourself in the world. When you sacrifice your self-respect for others, you're not just giving up a piece of yourself, you're undermining your own worth in a world where your needs and values are continuously ignored for the benefit of others. One of the most common ways that people compromise their dignity is by continuing to be in circumstances that don't respect their values, such as poisonous relationships, degrading jobs, or friendships that don't respect one another. Because they dread being alone, unemployed, or unconnected, too many individuals settle for less than they deserve. However, the reality is that continuing to live in a circumstance that continuously undermines your self-respect will eventually leave you feeling the hollow. The more you put up with rudeness or let people take advantage of you, the more you internalize the idea that you don't deserve better treatment. Realizing your own worth is the first step towards self-respect. When you appreciate yourself, you don't need anyone else to tell you that you're worthwhile because you already know it. This is about understanding that you have intrinsic worth, regardless of what other people may think or say about you. You may leave people or circumstances that don't treat you with the respect and dignity you deserve because you have the inner confidence to know that you don't have to accept anything less, and that in relationships, sacrificing your self-respect often manifests as compromising your values or putting up with disrespectful behavior. For example, you may have found yourself justifying someone's mistreatment of you because you love them, or because you're afraid of confrontation and telling yourself that it's not a big deal or that things will get better, but deep down you know that every time you let it go, you feel like you're losing a piece of yourself. Over time, the relationship becomes more about preserving someone else's comfort at the expense of your own happiness, needs, and opinions, ultimately putting their happiness, needs, and opinions ahead of your own. It's difficult to leave individuals who don't respect you, especially after you've put a lot of time and energy into the connection. But you must keep in mind that valuing yourself entails not allowing yourself to be treated any less, more than you are worthy of. When you set and maintain boundaries, even when they are uncomfortable, you make room for relationships based on mutual respect, understanding, and care. If someone can't respect your boundaries or your worth, they don't deserve to be in your life. The moment you start accepting less, you invite more of the same treatment into your life. The same is true at work, where far too frequently people compromise their dignity by putting up with toxic workplaces, unfair treatment, or even unethical behavior out of fear of losing their jobs or falling behind. Perhaps your supervisor minimizes you or your coworkers exploit your job, and you persuade yourself to keep quiet to prevent conflict. However, each time you allow these things to occur, you're communicating to yourself and others that you're willing to settle for less than you deserve. You're letting the job determine your value instead of standing by it. Over time, this can result in feelings of bitterness, exhaustion, and a profound lack of fulfillment in your work. If a job or career path requires you to constantly compromise your self-respect, it's time to reevaluate whether it's worth your time and energy. You deserve to work in an environment where you are treated with respect, where your contributions are valued, and where your sense of integrity remains intact. Respecting yourself in the workplace means setting professional boundaries, knowing when to stand up for yourself, demanding fair treatment, and realizing that you are valuable not just as an employee, but as a person. Seeking praise from others or from social media connections is another way that people compromise their self-respect in order to feel worthwhile. A certain way to lose touch with your own sense of self-worth is to continuously look for validation from others. When you rely your self-esteem on their opinion of you, you cede your authority and become reliant on their approval, which makes you vulnerable to their thoughts, judgments, and expectations. But respect for oneself cannot be based on anything as shaky as other people's opinions. Rather, it must originate yourself, and you must be your own source of affirmation, knowing that you are sufficient just as you are, creating. It takes time and deliberate effort to cultivate self-respect. It's about having a healthy sense of self-worth that isn't affected by outside influences. It's about having a mindset where you value yourself enough to prioritize your needs, set boundaries, and walk away from anything that doesn't align with your sense of worth. Respecting yourself means allowing room for growth and realizing that mistakes don't define you. When you respect yourself, you don't put up with disrespect from others because you know your value is negotiable. Part of self-respect also involves learning to forgive yourself because everyone makes mistakes, but when you keep berating yourself for them, you're undermining your own self-worth. Self-respect is one of the most important things you have. It influences every decision you make, the people you allow into your life, and how you treat yourself. When you sacrifice it, you lose touch with your own worth, and that loss affects every area of your life. However, when you defend it, you stand firm in your value, which creates a life filled with dignity, purpose, and fulfillment. When you forgive yourself, you're practicing compassion toward yourself, which is a crucial component of self-respect. The secret to leading a life that respects who you really are is to never compromise your self-respect for anybody or anything. Your happiness is your own, and it should never be given up for the sake of others. Though so many people find themselves putting their own joy on the back burner and letting other people's needs, wants, and opinions take precedence because they believe it's noble to do so, happiness is something that you must build within yourself and cannot be provided to you by others. Put others first, that compromising their happiness is part of maintaining relationships so that they can get back to their own joy later. But the truth is, when you constantly sacrifice your happiness, you are not only betraying yourself, but also setting the stage for a life filled with regret, resentment, and unfulfilled potential. It's important to understand that your happiness is your responsibility, not anyone else's. No one else can create joy or fulfillment in your life. It comes from knowing what brings you peace, purpose, and satisfaction, and choosing to pursue those things relentlessly. When you sacrifice your happiness for someone else, you're often doing so because of societal pressures, expectations, or the desire to please others. You may feel that by putting someone else's happiness above your own, you're being selfless or loving, but in reality, constantly sacrificing your own joy doesn't help anyone in the long run. It leads to feelings of frustration and depletion, and over time it can cause deep emotional fatigue. People often find themselves sacrificing their happiness in relationships, romantic, familial, or friendships. You might feel pressure to make choices that keep others happy, even if those choices make you miserable. Maybe it's staying in a relationship that no longer serves you, but you hold on because you don't want to hurt the person. Or perhaps you found yourself suppressing your own desires and needs to keep peace with a friend or family member. You tell yourself that as long as they're happy, it's okay. But is it really? When you sacrifice your happiness for someone else, you're creating a dynamic where you need a secondary. You become accustomed to ignoring what you want, pushing aside your desires in favor of someone else's comfort or satisfaction over time. This creates an imbalance, and that imbalance can lead to resentment. You start to feel like you're giving everything and getting nothing in return, and while the other person may be happy, you are left feeling empty, unfulfilled, and in some cases used. It's crucial to realize that you are not responsible for the joy of others. Just as you are in charge of your own happiness, others are in charge of theirs. You can support, encourage, and be there for the people you care about, but that doesn't mean you have to compromise your own happiness in the process. In fact, the healthiest relationships are those in which both partners put their own happiness and well-being first. When you're happy, you can give more to others, more love, support, and positivity. But when you're constantly sacrificing your happiness, you get exhausted and resentful, which negatively impacts your relationships. Allowing fear or insecurity to control one's decisions is another frequent method that people give up their enjoyment. Perhaps you've wanted to start your own business, change careers, or move to a different city, but you're hesitant because you're worried about what other people will think, or because you don't want to mess with someone else's life. Instead, you continue to live your life in a situation that doesn't make you happy because you feel compelled to keep things as they are, but every day you continue to work at that unfulfilling job. or living arrangement or relationship, it's crucial to understand that sacrificing your happiness for someone else doesn't make you a better person. Rather, it just makes you less fulfilled. Those who truly love and care about you want to see you happy. They don't want you to live a life where you're constantly sacrificing your joy for theirs. Sometimes this means having difficult conversations or making difficult decisions. You are sacrificing a piece of your happiness when you tell yourself that your dreams, aspirations, and joy aren't as important as maintaining them. Protecting your happiness, however, is ultimately an act of self-love. When you put your happiness first, you're not being selfish. Rather, you're respecting your own needs and leading a more genuine life. When you disregard what makes you happy, you're rejecting your own potential and creativity, shutting yourself off from experiences that could lead to more pleasure, growth, and fulfillment. And surrendering your happiness frequently means not living in harmony with your actual self. Happiness. Your happiness is a crucial component of what gives your life purpose. And the more you match your choices and actions with what genuinely makes you happy, the more fulfilled you will be. Whether that means following your passion, spending time with positive people, or just giving yourself permission to unwind and enjoy life. It's also important to remember that preserving your happiness does not guarantee that you won't encounter difficulties or setbacks. There will be times when you must make sacrifices because life is full of ups and downs, but how you handle those times when you are focused on your own pleasure makes a difference. Because you know what you're aiming for and aren't sacrificing your inner joy for other people, you can handle challenges with resilience. Instead, you're discovering ways to stay happy during trying times. Happiness is something that you select. It is the outcome of the choices you make about your priorities, who you spend your time with, and how you spend your time. Keep no one convince you that sacrificing your happiness is the right thing to do, because your joy is worth protecting. When you choose to live a life that is authentic to you, you are granting yourself permission to follow your dreams, have meaningful experiences, and be unabashedly joyful. The greatest gift you can give to the world and to yourself. Certain things like your integrity, time, and mental peace should never be sacrificed for anyone. Your contentment and self-reflection. When you sacrifice these pieces of yourself for other people, you run the risk of losing touch with who you really are, causing needless suffering and restricting your potential. These are the fundamental components that define who you are and the type of life you lead. The message is straightforward. You are worthy of preserving these aspects of yourself. You owe no one your tranquility, dignity, or happiness. By sticking to your principles, honoring your time, and putting your health first, you build a life in which you can thrive, not just for other people, but also for yourself. Protecting these vital aspects of yourself is not selfish. Rather, it is critical for leading a life of balance, happiness, and purpose. The secret to fulfillment is not self-sacrifice, but rather living a life that values your deepest wants and goals.